Seems legit. Hello my peoples and welcome back to my channel. Today we are making the Coffin handbag by Seemingly Wicked Patterns. I have done the non-binding option and I did a full crossbody strap because I think it's adorable. We've done it adjustable so it fits everyone. I do still have to do a final Tory squish to make the edges super nice. But if you want to see how I've done my version, let's get going. Okay, so pretty sure I've got all my stuff, but we'll see. We never know with me. Sometimes I miss some things. So I have got just a vinyl and just ironed the foam interfacing straight on. I didn't use any other interfacing. This is from Inklings and the Kraken. It's called Buttery Smooth, and personally I find that thick enough, but you know, choice is yours. Now you can make this bag two ways. You can make it with or without binding. That is entirely up to you. These bits here are my zippers, so we're going to start with the zipper because it's right here, and you kind of have to make a decision now if you want to do it with or without binding. If you're not going to do binding, you will either need to leave a gap in the side to stitch up or have an interior zipper pocket to turn it through. If you're going to do binding, we just sew everything a little bit differently. But since a lot of people seem to be a bit scared of binding and I'm not going to do a zipper pocket, let's not do binding either. So I'm going to grab one of these, get my zipper tape and lay it right sides up on top of the lining. So the lining is a cotton woven that I have interfaced with a medium woven interfacing. You can use whatever brand you like. I personally use the Birch brand. Different people like different stuff. Decaville Light, I believe you could use. I don't really know. There's actually a chart online for the different interfacings and what's their equivalent in different brands. So I am now just going to chop off the excess zipper tape here. These are still my dodgy scissors. I haven't quite got around to fixing them yet. It's on my list. Maybe I'll do it today. Who knows? If you're going to do an interior zipper, you will obviously need more. Then I'm going to take one of the exteriors and place it right sides down. And the reason I chose to do this today is because it was the top tub. So I actually just grabbed the top one and off we go. So I'm going to stitch and back stitch at the start. And then I'm stitching a 1/4 inch because this foot is up against the side of the zipper teeth. Back stitch at the other end. I'm going to go up to a 4 stitch length, spin it around, and then just pull the top one back. Now if you're doing binding, you pull them both back and stitch through both, but because we're not, you just pull back one. And I'm using a black stitch. I could have probably switched to navy. I just chose not to. Back stitch. Black will still work with this. It'll be fine. Put the tails in the bin. So now I've got this. You want to just manually fold that over, and then we're going to do the other side. So if I want, I'm just looking at this. If I want the fabric directional, so it'll sit like that, we need to go that way and put it on. It's not super necessary to worry about directional fabric on the inside, but you do want to think of it on the outside. Mine's not directional, so it doesn't really matter for me, but I'm just making a point to let you know that you might want to check on that. So the spiders kind of go everywhere, so it doesn't really matter. So this was a fold in half pattern, by the way. So, and then I put the line there so I didn't cut it. I just put a little cross on lines you're not meant to cut, but it was a good way to help find the center of things for later, I guess. So back to a 2.5 stitch length, which is my normal stitch length. If you're on a computerized domestic, when you first turn it on, whatever that stitch length is your standard. Different machines do 2.4, 2.6, anywhere kind of around there. I probably shouldn't have cut that off, because now we're going to again fold this back and top stitch down. Now I want to install the zipper so that I don't forget later. I like to just do it now. Crack that, pop it on. And then push it on, make sure it's even. That is not even. It was only 1 tooth difference, so if you're new to this, you could probably keep it like that. I'm just not going to. Alright, so see how it's not even? It's just being rude now. Much better. Alright, let's grab some other pieces and continue on. So this is our bottom, and then these are the 2 sides. So I'm going to just put these together, go back to a 2.5 stitch length, stitch, back stitch. Now you can chain stitch these, so we can actually grab the outer and do the same thing at the same time. So stitch, back stitch, then we can grab this one, trim off those tails, and then on the other side we're going to put this one. Now I'm making all the skulls face the same way because this one's directional but the outside's not. Alright, and then we're going to grab this one and join it on this side. I love chain stitching. It saves a lot of time and effort. And ultimately money, because you're wasting less thread. So that's now the sides. And so this will be, what we've just done is the bottom and the sides. So the zipper takes the side, the top, and the other side. So to here. So let's grab this piece and we're going to open it out. And I'm going to stitch it down on each side. So we stitch, back stitch, go all the way up to the zipper teeth, but not over them. This is where we're going to waste thread because we're not doing binding. And that's okay. Under we go, stitch, back stitch, up to but not over the zipper teeth. Oops. And then making sure this isn't twisted, open it out and then bring it over. I personally always like to do the lining pieces first because it's more flexible. Once you add that exterior, things get a lot stiffer, which is a lot less fun. Under we go. Back stitch, trim that and that. Now before we add this piece, you want to think about how you're attaching your crossbody strap. So I'm going to be using these fantastic things, but if you don't have them, you're going to want to put D-rings and connect them to here. So you usually take anywhere between, let's say 3 and 4 inches. You fold it into the center, you put your D-ring on, And then you're going to tack it to the zip right here. I don't need to do that because I'm not using it, but I'm just letting you know because not everyone has access to my cool things. So they are just strap connectors. I will show you how to install them. Also, my zipper section is slightly wider than my actual base. I cut this so long ago, I'm not sure if that's me or if they built it differently or what's going on. But, like always, we will just fix it. So I'm not too fazed about it. Honestly, it'll be fine. Trim off the tails, flip it over. We're always pulling the exterior or the lining out of the way because we only want to stitch the one layer. From here, we're going to open this out flat so that you've got flat exterior, flat lining, and I'm just going to stitch the in-between bit. So between, basically over the zipper, and it joins all the layers and closes everything up. Now, as an optional extra, if you want to, you fold these up out of the way, and you can actually fold this down and top stitch along here if you want to. You don't have to. I'm going to do it to show you it's an optional extra. I do recommend doing that if you've put your D-rings because it's just another layer of stitching to really, really hold it down. I'm going to trim this off later, so don't stress about it. Making sure nothing's twisted, we're going to come to the other end and do the same thing. You can even add clips if that makes your life easier. There's such short little sections that I'm not too fazed about it. Probably should join this on a 2.5. You also don't want your stitches too small with vinyl because there is such a thing as over perforating it and then it'll just tear apart if it's not a very strong vinyl. I'm not worried about this brand. This brand is awesome. But I have in the past bought some brands and I stitched it and it all just kind of came apart because the back of it was just like a mottled joiningness and not any form of like woven material, and it did not like being stitched at all. I actually think it might have been maybe designed for hair bows. A solution to that problem, if you ever come across it though, is to put medium woven interfacing on the back. Gives it something to stick to, gives it more structure. There is ways to fix everything. Some of them are just more fiddly than others. So I'm going to top stitch over here again because I think it looks pretty. Again, you don't have to. I just like to. So now that I've done all of the gusset, we're going to take some scissors. Oh, my child was in here earlier. And he took my scissors. Hold up. Found them. Okay. So from here, I'm just going to cut a little bit off the edge. Now, we just want to like make it even. You could have also just tapered this out. That would have worked fine too. Each to their own. I love this fabric. And I deemed it very appropriate for a skull bag. So we're just cutting off all things extra. Sometimes it is just easier to do it in my lap, sorry. Alright, now we always join our lining pieces first. Just make it a rule with yourself. What I am going to do is my strap because it gives me less things in my tub. So I'm going to take my 3/4 inch double-sided tape, which if you're in Australia, I have restocked all of the sizes of the double-sided tape, which is awesome. So I have 1/8 and 3/4 inch. I do use 3/4 inch for pretty much all straps in the future. If you're wondering why you need something so thick, it is fabulous. Anyway, moving on. Sometimes it just doesn't want to come off. If that's the case, rub it with your thumb. It helps to stick it, and then the backing will come off. Now I'm just going to pinch both sides into the center, and I want to make sure I'm going to do a really good job of this because you will see it. The other option is if you wanted to, you could actually fold it completely in half and have a join on one side. No right or wrong answers. Do it however you want. I once made a strap like this and then stitched diamonds the whole way across it. It did look cool, but in the future I would definitely use glue and not double-sided tape because eventually it did start to lift. So you want to bring it all the way in. You don't want to have any kind of gap. I know it looks like there's a gap. I promise there's not. It's just the edge of the vinyl. Working along slowly. I definitely have improved my skill of doing this. When I first started, I was so bad at it. You get into a groove though. Nearly there. And then on your 4-stitch length, I'm going to stitch right near the join. Tuck my arms in, shoulders back. It's not just about good posture, it's about me not getting sore shoulders. Now, a way to do that, I've just thought about it, a way to do that is to get 2 high energy magnets and just place them at the edge. I mean, you could probably do either or. So even if I just have this one over here, right? All I have to do is use this hand to push it over, or you could get a second magnet and do it there. And then we're just gonna stitch and back stitch. And if you just push it against the magnet, you'll get a straight line. It's like a cheat code. Oh, I just ran out of bobbin thread. All right, bobbin is refilled. I have moved my magnet because I was doing other things a second ago, but we can come back now. So I'm just going to go back into the hole, stitch, back stitch. And again, you can just use your hands, but it is a good practice if you've got the magnets. I just have a lot of practice at doing these straps like that. But the magnets are a really, really good way to guide it. Especially if you're first starting out. It's a good way to kind of increase your speed slowly too. So now that that is done, we are going to grab a strap adjuster. Now these ones have a slight curve. So you want the curve, you want it to be like a mountain, so convex. I really just like the words convex and concave, if you haven't kind of noticed. I'm going to go down to a 3-stitch length, so like between 2.5 and 4. And I'm going to do 2 lines. So I'm going to do a line, and then I'm going to move up a bit and do another line. You can also do the X shape, if you prefer that. And another line. Like so. Trim. Throw all of this this out, trim off all of the tails because we don't need them there. And that's now adjusted. So I'm going to have the join side facing up, which should also have the middle bit facing up. And I'm going to slip on one of the D-rings. Then we're going to go back up and through the strap here. And then the other D-ring. I'm also going to trim off those tails that are there that I can see. It was one that was slightly twisted amongst it. And then there's one more here. Done. So then again, we're going to fold it over and I'm going to do the 2 lines. You can also use rivets if you prefer. Stitch, back stitch. And then again, we're going to jump up a bit. You can even do 3 lines if you want to. I kind of started a little bit too far away. Oh. Thought that was going to snap something then. Then I'm just trimming off all of the jump stitches and the tails. Push it into the bin. You can also grab your thread zapper. I love this. USB rechargeable, man. And I'm just going to melt down the very end bits. Yes. Okay, good. Now it's all neat. Pop that aside. Now I will be leaving open one of the walls here, and then I'm going to either hand stitch it or machine stitch it closed. Haven't quite decided yet. And I know where the center is because of this line, so if we just line this up, I can do a little snip in the center here too. And then the other side, I just need to know where the center is. You don't have to snip it. You can actually just like draw a line if that works out better for you. So center top with center top, make sure you've just got 1 and not 2. Center top. Again, this would be quicker if we did binding, but I feel like I've done a lot of binding lately, so I thought I'd do something different. So there. Then we also want to come down to the bottom here, line up the center of the bottom like that. And I'm going to have the excess seam allowance point towards the bottom center. And then we're going to go up on an angle. Like so. And then down on an angle like this. I'm just clipping it together. You can go top to bottom, bottom to top, whatever makes you happy, but that point should be in line with where the zipper is. And then this bit's obviously extra that I need to bring down to the bottom there, like that. So angle it down. This point should be in line with the zipper. Well, where we stitch the zipper together, I guess. Better way to look at that. And then I always like to do it on the first one in case I forget, because it has been known that I forget. But we're going to leave a gap to turn the bag through here. And I haven't forgotten my little strap connectors. We're just going to put them on in a minute. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to stitch and back stitch. You don't want to stop all the way in a corner. It's so much harder to stitch. And then we're going to go across the bottom. needle down when we get to that edge bit there, and then up. And now we're just going to fold this all out of the way. Then you get to that seam, and we're going to go on an angle. Sorry about that. There was a phone call that came through and cut off my connection, which was just weird. Anyway, so we are going to continue around. You want to pivot at those corners to make them crisp, I suppose is the word I'm after. Stitch to there, needle down, pivot to get like a nicer top. That's top center there. You just got to keep moving stuff out of the way. It also tends to help to open your zipper. It makes it all more flexible. Needle down, pivot. And again, I do see why people do this in binding, but bags don't get to tell me what to do. And then backstitch. So we need to leave the opening. If you forget the opening on the first bag, on the first side, you've got a chance to make it up on the other side. That's why I always do it there. But, you know, each their own. So now you can also see it's kind of starting to take shape a little bit, even though it's only the lining that's in, which is fine. I'm actually going to put both the linings and one exterior on before I attach these, because I'm not 100% sure where I want to put them yet. So again, we need to make sure that this lines up, push it inwards. We're going to stitch this down. This time we're going to go all the way around. So this point, this intersection here and this point line up. So if you need to go around and do the points like that to help you, it might be a good way to start that. Right? Points, line it up, clip it down. Then from there, if you just pull that, it all lines itself up. Like a fun little trick. And then again, pull tight, it lines itself up. You can even fold that bit over. And then we're just going to do this. I moved my clips because I was being productive while on my phone call. I did actually need to take that phone call, so I would have called them back, but my phone actually cut off the video, which is new. And then the top bit. So clips are your friend. Use as many as you need. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. So this time we can start wherever, because we're going to stitch the whole way around. You also might find in these corners, if you give it a little clip, it'll sit flatter and it'll make it a little bit easier to sew. So you might find that in the corners it is kind of curving a little bit. Don't stress too much about it. So we're going to stitch to that seam, needle down, pivot up. It's not a very thick gusset, so this does get a little bit fiddly, but no binding, so yay! So again, right here I'm going to clip it just like 1/4 of an inch, and it just sits to the edge a bit better, in my opinion. Then we get to that clip, needle down, pivot, straight across the top. Needle down, pivot. I know I'm saying that a lot, but that's pretty much what you're going to do. Sew to the point, sew to the, so there we're going to stop in that seam allowance stitching, and then angle down. Home stretch, get back to the original stitches and backstitch. Now I will be trimming all of the excess off soon, just not yet. I'll do it when I'm ready. But now you should have the inside of your bag. I know it doesn't look terribly awesome yet. I also want to stitch these down. I was thinking about that before. You can do it back when it was easier, or you can do it now. So because it's a gusset, you can just take it. You want to fold both of them open and flat. By stitching this, it will both help with like the cool corners as well as help eliminate some of the bulk. So you're going to go both ways. Trim that off. Come over to the other one. I'm going to do the same thing. So this will both hold it down and give us like a nicer looking corner on our coffin. Pivot, back, pull it out, trim it off. Turn it back in like that. So we're going to grab this, line up center bottom with center bottom, with all your clips facing the gusset. Now you will use more clips this time because it is thicker and more naughty. It's the easiest way to look at it. Misbehaves, doesn't want to sit where it's told. I'm going to make a little snip kind of here so it sits a bit better. And done. Now let's do the other side. So we go to the seam on the side, face the clips towards the gusset, hold it in place, clip it in place. So you can see I'm probably using nearly double the amount of clips. And that is because it is thicker and the foam wants to stay in the shape that it is. So it tends to like to fight you a little bit. It's just how it is. Not much can be done. So we need to find center top, which I possibly should have done before I attached it to the bag. So let's find center top of this before I do attach it to the bag. And for those of you that don't know, this fabric glows in the dark. It's so cool. Now I don't need to find the center of the other side because I already have that center line from when I was tracing it out. There. And then this way. And then this way. Ta-da! Alright, gusset upwards, and then again you can start from wherever. I'm going to start from this seam this time. So I'm going to stitch and I'm going to back stitch. And then down we go. I've gone back to a joining stitch length. Needle down, pivot, oops, went too far. Needle down, pivot. Up we go, needle down, pivot. I'm sure you're sick of me saying it, I can't stop. I'm also going to trim off those tails just because they were annoying me. Needle down. You could say twist instead of pivot if it makes you more happy. Last side. And then from here, what we want to do, let's get some scissors. I have many. Let's use these ones. Oh, no, they're the dodgy ones. I need to fix them today. I'm going to cut out a triangle to get rid of the bulk at every intersection here. So there, there. So it's kind of like cutting out a U. Doesn't have to be super neat. We just don't want the bulk there. So that when we turn the bag through, it should sit nicely. And you can test that theory now. So you can turn out the one side and see how it's looking. If you push all your corners correctly, coffin shape. Right. Flip it back over. Next side. So again, we're going to find the center bottom. I can eyeball it because it's a short section, but if you don't want to eyeball it, just find the center like we always do. Center top lines up with the line there. Now this side's probably going to be even more challenging because it's just going to want to not be in the shape you tell it to be. Prepare yourself for that. It's just how it is. It'll work out fine. Just takes a minute. And off we go. Clip, clip, clip. Really is no such thing as too many clips. I keep those scissors handy because we'll need them in a minute. But we are nearly finished. What I'll do is I'll stitch this, turn the bag through, and then install my clips. Not my clips, my strap connectors. Oh, I just ran out of bobbin. Your bobbin is in. Where was I? Here. Even if I wasn't here, we're just going to go back to here. So I'm actually going to do a few of the other stitches again. I'm going to stitch and back stitch. That'll lock in the old set and the new set, and then go back to where I was. Pivot, squish, needle down, move the bag. Get to that seam, make sure you go right in that stitching. Pivot. I'll trim that so it sits better. Pivot. Push everything else out of the way. Again with the snipping so that it sits flatter. It's just in the corners where it wants to misbehave. And you want to clean up your clips as you go so that your space is clear for the sewing part. And then we're going to backstitch. And then we're going to cut with our vinyl scissors all of this out of those little corners so it'll sit nicer. Right, in the bin. Now we can turn the bag through a little side hole. And because it's not super huge, this might get tricky. But just pick a section and start shoving. There's no big secret to it. If you get it to that point, you're pretty set. Then you can just grab your exterior and pull it through. I love this vinyl because it is quite flexible. Makes that so much easier, and it doesn't get as wrinkly as easily either. Alright, into the hole, and then we're going to push out all of the corners so that it sits nicely, makes the actual coffin shape. You could also add piping to help this sit out if you wish. Okay, so now it's time to install my strap connectors. And again, you don't have to use these ones. You could have just had little D-rings that come off here, click it on, off you go. But I like to be a bit extra sometimes. Sue me. First thing I want to do is put my hand in, and I want to put one, I'm going to measure between here and here, because we do want them even. So up from there, I want to go, I think I want to do here. So not all the way on the top, but pretty high up. So I'm going to go 2.5 inches up. And I can tell you this because I'm making it up as I go along. Then on this side, so the opposite side, I'm going to do the same thing. Oh, come on, mark it. Things are supposed to mark everything. China graph pencils, not my favorite, to be honest. Not my favorite. So now I've got to mark on this side here and this side here. Alright, so that it will be on opposite sides. I now need to stab a hole. I'm going to use a sewing awl. If you had pre-mapped that out, you could use a hole punch. I could probably still use a hole punch if I really wanted to, but I'm okay. So in it goes, and then I wiggle it around. As dodgy as that sounds, that's how I punch the holes in these. Stab it in and wiggle it. It just stretches the hole out enough to be able to get my screw in. So I'm going to take the little screw and put the gasket on the screw, and then from the inside we're going to push it out the hole. The hardest bit is how to hold it. Once you get that sorted, you're good to go. Now, if you're doing this on a bigger bag, you might want to put some extra interfacing underneath this, because it might tear eventually if you put too much weight. But short of putting a brick in this bag, like a literal brick, it should be fine. Because it's not a very big bag, so it can only hold so much. And people don't walk around putting bricks in their bags. They put like a wallet and a phone. Now this is always the hardest bit for me. I don't know why I struggle so much with screwing things together. I just do. So I'm going to manually screw it as best I can, and then I get my electric screwdriver and do the last little bit. This was from eBay. It was about $30. I literally looked up mini electric screwdriver. It wasn't a very exciting Google, and then it comes up. There's a whole bunch of different ones. You just pick whichever one you want. If you're in America, Sandra from the Garner Sewing Room has cool ones with lights in the end, just to be a little bit extra, so that you can kind of see what you're trying to join together. In fact, I'll put the link for that in the description. Doesn't help us Aussies, but that's what eBay's for. Or I assume Amazon would have them. Mine came from eBay, but that doesn't mean yours has to. Come on. So I can physically see the hole. That always helps. And the buttery smooth you can move. If you've done this in leather, you'll need to actually punch the full hole. But this vinyl is stretchy enough that I can stretch it over the hole. I wouldn't call it super stretchy. Like, I wouldn't go making pants out of it or anything. But eventually you can get the screw through the small hole I made, as opposed to cutting stuff away. like you do with the actual hole punch. Alright, here we go, the bit I always suck at. We can't be good at everything. I've made peace with that over the years. Doesn't mean I don't strive to be somewhat okay. Alright, that's on. Let's just get the screwdriver to do the rest. You could add Loctite if you want. But now I've got somewhere to attach my strap that's not too far down. You never want to do like the center of the bag because then the gravity will tip it forward. So I've put them quite high without being on the top. And now I just need to stitch this closed. Let me just tidy up my space. I like to sew in a relatively clean space. It's never spotless, that's not who I am, but clean. So, we're going to tuck in those raw edges, line that up and put clips on it. I'm actually going to clip this because it's going to be tricky. I can already tell. I might even put the clips the other way and start from the bottom and work my way up towards the bulk because that's also the easier way to do these things. Where's the hole? So the hole goes all the way to here. So I'm going to put another clip there. I'm going to spin these two clips around because that's going to make my job easier. And so then I'm just going to stitch right on the edge. So like 1/8 of an inch, I'm doing a normal stitch length. You can also hand stitch this to make it invisible if you want to. I've never been much for hand stitching. But funnily enough, I'll happily sew sequins onto things. Right, you're going to get all the way to the edge, back stitch, trim off your tails, and then tuck that inside the bag. And we're done. Apart from a bit of Tory squishing, where you roll it along the seam and then violently shake it, you'll need to do that to get like really nice edges. See how that's not sitting flat? So what you want to do is you want to roll it right to the edge and then just shake it back and forth. And see how it sits flatter already compared to this side? Even if I push that out. That side's quite rounded, this side's pretty flat. So you'll need to do that to the whole bag. But apart from that, it's all done. So grab the crossbody strap and then it just clicks on to these. I love these connections. And you can have them so that they sit up and down like that, or you can have them the other way. They will spin within the bag a little bit, no matter how tight you do them. But there you go. Crossbody strap on a coffin bag with giant glow-in-the-dark spiders. Thank you all for tuning in. Please don't forget to like the video if you liked it. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you see all the other upcoming videos. Alright guys, bye!